The WWE champion was basking in the glow of her victory, the roar of the crowd a testament to her terrifying power. And then the arena went black. When the darkness finally lifted and a single spotlight pierced the gloom, a figure stood in the center of the ring whom the WWE Universe had never seen before. What happened in the next 3 minutes wasn't just a match, it was a coronation. It was the dawn of a new and far more dangerous era. In the storied history of World Wrestling entertainment, there are moments that transcend the weekly spectacle. These are the game-changing debuts that rip up the script, reset the hierarchy, and leave an indelible mark on the industry. The arrival of The Shield, the shocking appearance of Goldberg, the explosive debut of Brock Lesnar. These are the benchmarks by which all new arrivals are measured. This past Monday Night Raw, the WWE Universe witnessed an event that will now forever be counted among them. Arissa Le Brock, the enigmatic daughter of Hollywood action legend and Aikido grandmaster Steven Seagal, did more than just arrive in WWE. She detonated. Her debut was not heralded by weeks of video packages or cryptic social media teases. It was a sudden, violent, and paradigm-shifting event that saw the collision of two vastly different worlds, the blinding glitz of Hollywood royalty and the brutal, unforgiving reality of the squared circle. It was a statement of intent, a display of a fighting style utterly alien to the WWE landscape, and a chilling warning to every single competitor in the women's division. The queen was on her throne, but a dragon's daughter had just breached the castle walls. The main event of Monday Night Raw had just concluded. The women's world champion, Rhea Ripley, stood supreme. Known as the Eradicator of the women's division, Rhea's reign had been one of absolute dominance. She had systematically dismantled every challenger, her combination of raw power and a sadistic streak making her arguably the most feared woman in professional wrestling. The crowd chanted, "Mommy, Mommy," a term of endearment and respect for their dominant champion. With the championship belt slung over her shoulder, Rhea grabbed a microphone, a confident sneer plastered across her face. "I have beaten them all," she bellowed, her Australian accent echoing through the arena. "I have run through every so-called contender this division has to offer. So, I'll ask again, is there anyone left? Is there anyone in that locker room with the guts to step up to Mommy?" The question hung in the air, met by a resounding chorus of no from the thousands in attendance. It was a confirmation of her supremacy. Rhea laughed, soaking in the adulation and the fear she commanded. She raised her championship high, the undisputed queen surveying her kingdom, utterly unaware that her reign was about to face its most unforeseen and lethal threat. Just as Rhea was about to leave the ring, it happened. Without warning, the arena lights simultaneously shut off, plunging the entire building into pitch-black darkness. A collective gasp swept through the crowd, followed by a wave of confused murmurs. The only light came from the thousands of cell phone screens that instantly lit up the stands like a field of scattered stars. Was this a power failure or part of the show? After a full 10 seconds of tense silence, a single piercingly white spotlight cut through the darkness, illuminating the center of the ring. And standing within its beam was a figure who was not there moments before. It was a woman, tall and athletic, with long dark hair cascading over her shoulders. She was dressed not in flamboyant wrestling gear, but in a simple, form-fitting black martial arts GI with no logos or embellishments. Her posture was perfectly still, her hands held loosely at her sides. Her face was a mask of unnerving calm, her dark eyes fixed directly on the bewildered Rhea Ripley. The Titantron flickered to life, displaying a single stark name in white letters: Arissa. The commentary team was in disarray. "Who in the world is that?" exclaimed Michael Cole. "That name isn't on any WWE roster I've ever seen. She's not from NXT, not from SmackDown." Corey Graves, usually the know-it-all, was equally baffled. "I have no idea, Cole, but look at the intensity. There's no fear in her eyes. She's looking at Rhea Ripley like she's prey. Rhea Ripley's confusion quickly morphed into pure rage. This was her ring, her moment, and this unknown woman had stolen it. "Who the hell do you think you are, interrupting me?" she snarled, stomping towards the intruder. Arissa remained motionless, her expression unchanging, which only seemed to infuriate the champion further. Rhea got in her face, trying to intimidate her with her superior size and menacing presence. "You've made the biggest mistake of your life," Rhea seethed. She shoved Arissa hard in the chest, expecting her to stumble back. But Arissa didn't move an inch. It was like shoving a statue rooted to the ground. The force of Rhea's own push seemed to dissipate into her. Frustrated and embarrassed, Rhea lunged forward to grab Arissa for a body slam, but as her hands made contact, Arissa moved with a fluidity that was breathtaking. In a motion that was too fast to properly register, she sidestepped Rhea's charge, captured her outstretched arm, and used Rhea's own forward momentum against her. With a subtle twist of her body and a perfectly executed leg sweep, Arissa sent the 170-pound champion crashing to the mat in a heap. The crowd, which had been murmuring in confusion, let out a unified roar of shock and awe. This was no wrestling takedown, it was a masterclass in leverage and control. What unfolded next was a showcase of a fighting style completely foreign to the WWE universe. Rhea, dazed but furious, scrambled to her feet and charged again, this time throwing a wild haymaker. Arissa didn't block it with her arms in the traditional sense. Instead, she redirected it with an open palm, guiding Rhea's arm past her and leaving her exposed. In the same motion, Arissa delivered a series of short, sharp strikes to Rhea's shoulder and ribs. They weren't the wide, looping punches of a pro wrestler. They were precise, targeted blows designed to neutralize and disable. Every time Rhea tried to use her power, Arissa would use her technique. When Rhea attempted to lock in her signature riptide submission, Arissa didn't try to power out. Instead, she manipulated Rhea's wrist with a small joint lock, forcing the champion to release the hold with a yelp of pain. The commentators struggled to describe what they were seeing. "This is not wrestling," Wade Barrett observed, his voice tinged with respect. "This is a form of combat. It's pure Aikido. She's not trying to pin her. She's trying to dismantle her." Arissa moved with an economy of motion that was both beautiful and terrifying. There were no wasted steps, no taunts to the crowd, just a cold, methodical deconstruction of the most dominant woman in the company. Finally, Rhea Ripley managed to create some distance. Her face was a canvas of pain, frustration, and disbelief. Tapping into her last reserves of energy, she let out a primal scream and charged for her devastating spear finisher. This was her kill shot, the move that had ended dozens of matches. But for Arissa, it was just another opening. As the champion hurtled towards her, Arissa didn't brace for impact. She took a small step to the side at the last possible second, causing Rhea to fly past her and into the turnbuckles. As Rhea stumbled back, disoriented, Arissa closed the distance. She didn't hit a finisher. She didn't apply a famous submission hold. She simply placed her hand on Rhea's shoulder and applied pressure with her thumb and forefinger to a specific nerve cluster at the base of her neck. Rhea's body went rigid. Her eyes widened in agony, and a choked cry escaped her lips. Her legs gave out from under her, and she collapsed to the mat, twitching and tapping her hand frantically in submission. The referee, looking utterly bewildered by the unconventional finish, hesitated for a second before calling for the bell. It was over. Arissa Le Brock had defeated the unbeatable Rhea Ripley without even throwing a single traditional wrestling move. The crowd was in a state of stunned silence before it erupted. Arissa stood over the fallen champion, her expression still unreadable. She calmly picked up the Women's World Championship, looked at it with a flicker of interest, and then contemptuously dropped it on Rhea's chest. Without a single word, she exited the ring and walked up the ramp, never once looking back as the medical team rushed to check on the defeated champion. The chaos backstage was palpable. Producers were shouting into headsets, and fellow wrestlers peered out from behind the curtain, their faces a mixture of shock and concern. The WWE cameras followed Arissa as she walked silently through the backstage area, ignoring everyone who tried to speak to her. She walked with purpose towards a private VIP lounge, a door usually reserved for visiting celebrities or top-level executives. The security guards at the door immediately opened it for her and then shut it firmly behind her, blocking the camera crew's view. Within minutes, the wrestling world's social media exploded. A well-known wrestling journalist tweeted a bombshell, citing a backstage source. The woman who just debuted as Arissa is Arissa Le Brock, and inside that VIP lounge she just entered, her father, Steven Seagal, who has been here secretly all night. The news spread like wildfire. The dots were connected. The unique fighting style, the quiet confidence, the Hollywood-level surprise, it all made sense. The question was no longer who she was, but why now? And what role was her legendary father playing in this shocking invasion of WWE? The fallout was immediate. On post-show podcasts and social media, the entire industry was talking. Booker T, on his Hall of Fame podcast, said, "Man, that was something else. That girl ain't here to play games. That Aikido stuff is legit. She just brought a whole new level of realism to that women's division. Everybody better step up." Veteran wrestling manager Jim Cornette, often a critic of modern wrestling, tweeted, "For the first time in years, WWE did something genuinely unpredictable and interesting. A legitimate martial artist with a Hollywood pedigree. This could be a license to print money if they don't screw it up." Fans were equally electrified. The hashtag Arissa debut was trending #1 worldwide. Fan theories ran rampant. Was she a heel, a babyface, or something else entirely? An unstoppable force of nature beyond such simple labels? Video clips of the pressure point finish were replayed millions of times, with martial arts experts breaking down the technique's legitimacy. The debate was on. Had WWE just introduced its most credible and dangerous superstar in a generation? Arissa Le Brock's arrival was more than just a debut, it was a paradigm shift. She didn't come to win titles in the traditional sense. She came to establish a new order. The questions now hang heavy in the air, promising a thrilling and unpredictable future. How will Rhea Ripley respond to such a complete and humiliating neutralization? What is the full extent of Steven Seagal's involvement in his daughter's new career path? And most importantly, who can possibly stop a competitor who fights with a style no one in WWE is equipped to handle? One thing is certain. The landscape of the WWE women's division has been irrevocably altered. A silent predator now walks among the queens and goddesses, armed with a legacy of action and a fighting style built on quiet annihilation. The era of mommy may be over. The era of the dragon's daughter has just begun.